This week on the Budding Watch Enthusiast, I become probably the 1,000th person to review the Seiko SKX007. Find out why I think it's probably still the best entry-level dive watch that you can buy. So let's get right into an overview here of the Seiko SKX. We'll start with the measurements. You have a 42mm width here, 46 millimeters from lug to lug, a height of about 13 to 13.5 millimeters, and then you have a lug width of 22 millimeters. So we have a matte black dial with round hour markers, except at the 6, 9, and 12 o'clock. Of course, 12 you have the arrow. 9 and 6, you have the rounded but longer markers, which I really like, and like I said, it's the iconography of the watch that makes it stand out immediately. If you look at the chapter ring on the inside there, that's where you see the minute indices as they go around. The markers are, of course, painted on the dial. No applied markers here on the SKX at all. For your hands, you have a syringe-style hour hand, along with an arrow pointer for the minute. The second hand going around, just a plain second hand, but you see the little lollipop on the edge there for the counterbalance. Day-date window here. This is one of the biggest sticking points with this watch, is that the day-date changeover, not the best with this one. Also completely unframed, which is a little disappointing, but then again, you have to keep in mind the price of the watch as you're looking at it. Of course, we have a 120 click unidirectional bezel, which turns very, very easily. We got a coin edge here on that bezel, and of course an aluminum insert. Now the crystal here, it's not a sapphire crystal, nor is it a mineral crystal. This is actually Hardlex. It's a Seiko proprietary crystal that gives you the scratch resistance similar to sapphire. It's not quite as, doesn't quite get as marked up as mineral, but it's also a lot less expensive than sapphire glass. If we move outside to the case, we see here a case finish that is brushed on the top, polished on the sides, of course stainless steel case. We have a screw down crown here at the 4 o'clock position that pops out there, and of course if we pull the crown out, it does not hack. The second hand does keep moving. The 7S26 movement is not a hacking movement, but pull the crown out to the first position and you do get a quick date adjustment, and if you turn it the other direction, you get a quick day adjustment. And you can see as I'm scrolling through the day there, it does come into, the day comes in 2 different languages. This one happens to be English and Arabic. I know that they also do English and Spanish out there as well. And there's, I think, English and Japanese, of course, also, since it's Seiko. Of course, the Seiko branding that you see in the dial, just the Seiko automatic there at the top of the watch, and then the diver's 200 meter. The watch is, of course, 200 meters water resistant, which the screw down crown certainly helps contribute towards. And if we flip it over, take a look at the case back, and I'll take the strap off real quick just so that we can see that. We see a polished case back, a screw down case back with the iconic Seiko wave on the back. Sorry about my fan blades reflecting off of that surface, but yeah, Seiko wave on the back, your serial numbers there as well. But yeah, just a, like I said, an iconic case design. What the Seiko SKX is known for is this case design, and of course the way the dial pattern. Let me go ahead and toss in a lume shot of the watch right here. Now this watch has Seiko Lume, and it's some of the best lume that you'll find on any watch out there, period. There's a reason that I use this watch as the comparison shot when I review other watches for lume, because it's just so awesome. I don't have a comparison shot for this one because this is the watch I use for comparisons, but excellent lume on this watch, as you would expect, and really stands out and makes it very useful for the purposes of diving, as it's intended to do. So let's talk about the 7S26 movement that's inside of here. That's basically Seiko's entry-level automatic movement. It is a 21,600 vibrations per hour movement. It is a 21 joule movement. It has about a 40-hour power reserve, which is to be expected for a movement of this type. But again, like I mentioned, no hacking, no hand winding, which is it's probably the biggest issue with the watch, is the fact that the movement does not contain those features. And it's not annoying until you have a lot of watches that do have it, and then you really notice it when it's not there. We'll talk about that when we get to impressions. As far as performance goes, I'm seeing anywhere between -2 seconds per day and +8 seconds today, which is great. Now that's actually pretty good for this movement. Of course, it's not like certified or anything like that, so it's going to wildly vary from movement to movement. Now the movement can be regulated if you pop the movement open, which of course I wouldn't necessarily recommend you do unless you know what you're doing. But still, I'm pretty pleased with that variance in the seconds per day. Let's talk about the strap that this watch comes with. Now you can get the SKX on a bracelet. You can get it, but typically it comes on this rubber strap. And the reason that it's not on the watch right now for the review, I try to put the OEM strap on for the reviews, but I hate this strap. It's awful. It's not comfortable. It's makes your wrists sweat. It's a little scratchy. It's also not very long for the larger wristed gentleman like myself. Like, it'll fit on the last hole, but not comfortably. I hate it. If you get the rubber strap version, just throw the strap away. You never need it. Fortunately, since it is a predominantly black and white watch, this is a strap monster. It looks good on anything. I have this right now on a NATO strap from Stratton Watch Company. You can pretty much put any NATO strap. You can pretty much put any rubber bracelet. I've even seen people rock leather straps on their SKX. Not my style personally, but again, there's a multitude of straps that work with this watch. So get your, if you get the rubber strap version, get something else. If you get the version with the Jubilee bracelet, I've heard mixed things about the Seiko Jubilee bracelet. You're probably going to want alternative options as well. Or I've thought about getting a strap code Jubilee for this watch, which is of much better quality. I haven't wanted to spend the money on it because bracelets are, it depends on the day for me. I typically don't wear them. I stick more to NATO straps and things like that. But like I said, Strap Monster looks great, but ditch this rubber piece of crap strap. It's awful. So let's take a look at it on the wrist here, again with this Stratton NATO strap. And like I said, it's pretty solid. I love the rounded edges of the case. I think that gives it a little bit of a distinct look, because it looks kind of like not quite a turtle case, but it's somewhere in between a typical dive watch case and a turtle case, just because you got that little rounded edge. Gives it a little bit of a slimmer profile as well, because the bezel actually sticks out a shade further than the width of the case at some angles. But yeah, here it is on the wrist. It's, like I said, for being a watch that looks big and tough, it's actually pretty light. Doesn't really wear on you too bad. I'm assuming if you have it on the bracelet, that's going to be more of a factor. But yeah, so there is the overview of the Seiko SKX, a classic, of course. So let's take you over to the desk where I can give you my impressions of this iconic diver's watch.
So to be honest, like I joked about at the top of the video that I hesitated whether or not to even do this review because it's been done to death. And I don't know that I'm going to necessarily be adding much new to the conversation aside from my own personal thoughts. Because I've watched a handful of reviews on the SKX and I've read a handful of reviews on the SKX. They all kind of say the same thing, and I'm probably not going to deviate too far from most of those thoughts. Let's do dislikes first, because there's really not too many of them. And all of the ones that I have pretty much stem from the 7S26 movement. And the biggest one, of course, is that it lacks hacking and hand wind. And again, normally that's not a huge deal. It shouldn't be a huge deal. I mean, still an automatic watch if you still wear it often. It's an issue for me because I tend to switch between a lot of watches. So, of course, if the watch doesn't get worn for a couple days, it's going to stop, and then I got it. Next time I put it on, I got to reset it. It's just a minor annoyance. The SKX probably spends more time in my watch winder than any other watch does, just because I don't feel like going through the pain and inconvenience of having to reset it every time that I don't wear it for a while. I'm also particular, and I like to, set my watch specifically to atomic time when I do reset them. And of course, because of the hacking or lack of a hacking feature, makes it a little bit more difficult to do that. And of course, the date switch is horrendous. It's the worst thing ever in this watch. It takes like 5 hours to change the date and day over to the next day. I'm putting you can see a video that I'm putting on the screen here of just winding through the watch to show you how long that takes. It's really irritating. And not that, you're going to be asleep the majority of the time that happens, but that doesn't change the fact that it's silly. And again, you're getting what you pay for, right? Like, this is a sub $200 watch in most cases. It's going to come with some caveats, but it's weird that this watch, which costs, you know, around 200 bucks, has the same movement that a lot of, like, all the Seiko 5s have that you can get for more than half the price cheaper. I almost wonder what would happen if they had put like a 4R15 in this instead. How much would that have really raised the price up? I don't know. But if that bothers you, then, you know, you'd have to look at the next tier up for the Seiko divers, which is like the Seiko Samurais. The other big annoyance, of course, I have it right here in pieces. God, this rubber strap is awful. It's just the worst. It's not a very good strap at all. Get rid of it. I freaking hate that strap. I wore it once and it's never gonna get worn again. I'm just keeping it in the event that one day, if I decide to get rid of the watch, that I'll have the OEM strap that went with it to give to the buyer. That's literally it. But let's get to likes. And there's just something about the SKX that makes it awesome. And I can't quite, it's got that, like, that je ne sais quoi. It's got that little quality about it. And it's just kind of hard to fathom that you can get a watch that is as robust and as durable as the SKX is and as iconic as the SKX is for the price that you can get this watch. And that's really the appeal, is the combination of the fact that the watch is an icon, but you can still get it for sub $200, and it's a durable watch. It's gonna last you for, you know, a decade or more before having to get serviced. It's a great daily wear. It's a great beater watch. There's a reason that it is the most recommended watch out there when you're talking about entry-level divers. For me, it's the dial. Like I said, it's the dial, the uniqueness of the dial with the you know, the round markers, but it's also got the rounded but long, you know, markers at the primary position with the arrow. Of course, the lume. Like I said, it's just everything. There's not one standout feature on the watch that blows me away. It's kind of everything, you know, combined together into one. Of course, the wave on the back, the Seiko wave on the back, it just adds to the iconography of the watch. I keep saying icon and iconic, and it is. Like, that's the thing about the SKX, is that it's just a fun, cool, durable, reliable watch that's just fun and just has that it factor. I just keep coming back to that because that's what I love the most about the watch. It's just the uniqueness of the design and just the standout looks and the fact that it is an icon. So let's talk value for money. Currently, as I'm recording this video, you can get the SKX007 on the rubber strap for, I think, $191 on Amazon. Of course, if you go pre-owned, you can probably find it a little bit cheaper. If you go with the Jubilee bracelet version, which I highly recommend over the rubber strap version, I think it's like $209 right now. Now, those prices will fluctuate as the market comes and goes. But again, it's value for money. Yeah, if you're spending the money on this watch, you are gonna get value for your money. This is a great investment. Believe it or not, if you care about such things, for a $200 watch, it does retain its value rather well. Like you can buy it for, I think I bought this for $175, and if I wanted to turn around and sell it for $165, I could probably do that. So weirdly enough, like I said, if you care about resale value, you can probably get a decent return for your investment on this watch for sure. Now, the only thing that I wanted to mention with value for money is that I've really had my eyes on the Orient Mako 2, which is another Japanese company dive watch that's in this same entry-level category. I haven't used the Mako 2 yet, and I really want to, and I actually really want to battle these two watches against one another because of, you know, they occupy the same space. But the Mako is $50 cheaper. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you get the Mako instead because I haven't used it. I can't make that recommendation. I really want to. But there is a chance, however small, that the SKX may not be the king of entry-level divers anymore in terms of value. So if you've used the Mako 2, if you really like that, again, it's hard to argue not saving the 50 bucks. So like I said, I'll have to get that in at some point because my wife wants one, fortunately, so I can make the excuse to buy it for her as a gift and then steal it and wear it and compare the two ideally. So maybe look for that down the road as well. So final thoughts. I mean, even despite the Mako 2, you know, kind of maybe coming in from left field, this is still one of the biggest no-brainers in watches today. I mean, if you want a great dive watch, but you don't want to spend, you know, over $200 or $250, the SKX is going to be the thing that gets recommended to you more than anything else. And I'm not the first person to say it. I'm not going to be the last person to say it. But there's a reason that people keep saying it, because the SKX is awesome. It's just a fun watch. It's an icon. It's something that you can get. It's reliable. Comes from a company that has a huge amount of history, Seiko, that has been innovators in the watch field. And this is not an innovative watch. It's not a, you know, it's not gonna set the world on fire still, but it's a great watch. It's fantastic. So again, if you're looking for your first dive watch, or if you're just looking for a fun watch that you can kick around, yeah, the SKX is still awesome. Shocking, I know, but it's the SKX is still an amazing watch. You know, again, sorry I didn't have, you know, a super hot take for you guys on the SKX, but no, it's still amazing, and it's something that's still worth getting for sure today. So that is it for this video. Please like the video down below if you enjoyed the content, and also if you enjoy the videos I'm putting out. If you're not subscribed to the channel, you can do me a huge favor by hitting the subscribe button and hitting the bell icon, so that way you get notified whenever new videos pop up as well. If you guys have an SKX, or for some reason you hate the SKX, you love the SKX, you want to tell me what you think about it, let me know down below in the comments. Thank you guys very much, as usual, for watching, and I will catch you all the next time.